Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Hola chicas, bienvenidas a mi canal. Today we are going to talk about the new Too Faced eyeshadow palette, and I am going to be completely honest, she is apparently super mega huge and I had never heard of her. It looks like, based on watching her videos, I believe she is from Mexico. I could be completely wrong, but she looks really neat and I need to start watching her videos. But I'm gonna tell you what, she came out with a bomb looking eyeshadow palette and I am here for it. So guys, we've got a lot to talk about today because I really had been looking forward to this one, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I have thoroughly enjoyed playing with this eyeshadow palette. So we've got a lot to discuss in case you've had your eyes on this, or maybe even just the color scheme kind of speaks to you. Maybe you're like me and packaging is just drawing you in. So if you're interested in seeing swatches, thoughts, demo, all of that, then just keep on watching. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and start off with the box. It looks like this. This is everything in a Valentine's Day kind of theme that I am living for. I love Valentine's Day type of things. Now, granted, this is not a Valentine's Day themed palette, but it really looks like it to me. So the box does look exactly like the eyeshadow palette, which I love because I can then toss the box. And on the back is just a description of the palette and the layout. I'll read you the back here in a second. For reference, it does have a 12-month shelf life and it is made in USA, assembled in Dominican Republic, which is pretty standard these days for Too Faced. So for reference, you get 11 eyeshadows at 0.7 grams or 0.02 ounces for a total net weight of 7.7 grams and 0.22 ounces. It did pay $42 for it at Ulta. My local store had them in stock, but it's my understanding based on watching her videos that this will be coming to Sephora as well. So it may be something you just want to wait for, depending on where you like getting your points, that kind of thing. As far as the inside, it does come with the little, of course now it's stuck. It comes with the little pamphlet on like just how-tos. Now they've really consolidated. Do you remember when it used to be like a little fold out and now it's literally just a like an open type of thing? But basically it's telling you how to create her look from this picture right here. I typically don't keep these, I toss them, but for reference that is in there. So on the back it does say own your Amor Caliente with this spicy limited edition palette. So in looking at her YouTube channel, she's got like almost 14 million subscribers. I had no idea that. I thought there were only 2 or 3 of that caliber on YouTube, but apparently she is very huge. Like I said, I love this aesthetic so much, and based on watching her couple of videos that I did watch in preparation for this, I was very drawn into where I do want to watch more, and I think I could, you know, really enjoy her channel. It says this authentic collaboration was based on real friendship, a passion for sexy color, and a life full of fun and creativity. Let's move on to the palette itself. And again, it looks exactly like the box. I have to say this is one of the weightier Too Faced palettes I have come across, and weighty in a way that it feels very sturdy and very high quality. It has been a long time since I've seen something like this from Too Faced. So I was very happy to see this, to feel it. Once I took it out of the box, I'm like, okay, this is looking really nice. So again, the colors in this are just like, this is my type of color scheme, palette, whatever. And on the back, same thing. You've got like the total grams of product and all of that. So for reference, I had read this already, but I do want to disclose it and we can talk about it again later on. But it does say that the shade Amorcito is an exclusive pressed pigment designed to be used on the cheeks only. I used it on the eyes, so I'm just putting that out there. And I did use it on the eyes in this demo, in today's demo as well. So there is that. Opening it up, there is a typical mirror on the inside, but it's got the hearts surrounding the mirror. So cute. I just feel like this was a very thought out palette and I'm really happy with that. So on the inside, we do have 12 eyeshadows. I think I gave you the net weight to only 11 of them. So the shade Amorcito, which is disclosed separately, has, I think, the same, yeah, it does have the same net weight. It's 0.7 grams, 0.02 ounces, but they're calling it a cheek pressed pigment. So Just an FYI there. So they are all the same size. You do have 12, and they are there's like an awesome mix of super bright neons. And then again, if you're a neutral type of girl and you can't go bold like that, then there's a good mix of those in here as well. So, but I'm neon, like sign me up. If I could have flashing lights on my eyes, I probably would. So let's just go ahead and go into the swatches real quick so that then we can go into the demo. I will be right back. So before I take you into the first 4 swatches, I just have to say, you have to love an eyeshadow palette that has a shade name of chancla. I mean, that right there just kind of, who cares what the shade looks like, who cares what this palette is, but chancla's in here, so it's a good palette. So the first 4 right here, we've got Love Me, Chancla, Frenchie, and Santa Monica. For the next 4, we have Amorcito, which is supposed to be the cheeks only type of shade. Again, I used it on my eyes. It does have, I'll show you here in a bit, it has a little heart symbol before the name, and I'm assuming that's just to kind of remind you that that is not an eyeshadow. Then you have Chili, Donut, and Chica. For reference, this shade right here, which is Chili, is my very favorite in this eyeshadow palette. It's really hard to come across a red in the pan that stays a red on your eyes and doesn't like shift to a pink. And this one stays red on my eyes. So definitely my favorite of the bunch. For the last 4, we have Pantera, Señorita, Hot and Spicy, and Slice. Whew, dusty. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the demo portion of this video, and then we will come back and talk about the performance of this palette together. Going in with the shade Chica and a BH Cosmetics blending brush, I am going to place this in my crease. I will tell you this is a very pigmented shade. I typically go in with multiple layers, and this time I only went in with 1. Next, going in with Hot and Spicy. This one's going to go on the outer portion of the lid. This color-wise is one of my favorite shades in this palette. It is beautiful and it pairs well with others. The only thing is, we'll talk about the formula in a bit because you're going to start seeing a few bald spots here soon. So now you're seeing, like, I'm trying to build it up, but the more I try to build up, the more it kind of wipes away the color and starts creating bald spots. In a way, even changes up the color a little bit to almost like a brighter pink. I don't even know how to tell you or what to tell you it's doing. Really never had that issue before, or at least not that bad. Then going in with my Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer just to kind of lay this down for where I'm going to put the metallic shade. I always do this. And then going in with my finger and the shade Chili. This is pretty much my favorite shade out of the bunch. It is absolutely stunning, and this is the type of shade that actually stays red on your lid. It goes on better with a brush. I just wanted to show you how it applies with a finger. That is typically my preferred method, but in this case, going in with a brush is so much better. It's a lot more opaque. It's a very creamy shade, and it adheres very, very well. Like I said, it stays nice and bright on the eye. So with this palette, the metallic shades, using a brush is the best way to go. Going back in with my blending brush that I used for Hot and Spicy and just kind of trying to blend those together. And now going in with Amorcito and a tiny detail brush. Heads up, this is a cheek only shade, but you know, I take the risk. So I did place it on my eye. So I'm just kind of trying still to show you the bald spot on that eye. Going in with a little more Hot and Spicy. I am just really trying my best to build it up. The times that I've used this palette, I haven't struggled a whole lot, or at least not as much as I did this time, but then again, I've been using a whole lot of other shades as well. So going back in with the shade Amorcito, and this is going in my inner corner, and this is really just to add a punch of color right there. We're going to add a little bit of a metallic shade over top, which is the shade Donut. And I'm going to place this over that Amorcito shade because I really wanted something to stand out beneath Donut, and Donut just kind of helps take it to the next level. Going back in with the shade Hot and Spicy and placing this on my lower lash line. This is just in an effort to tie it all in together, and it is the shade that I feel is the most flattering to wear on my lower lash line because it really makes my eye color pop. Now going back in with the shade Amorcito, and I'm just going to place this also on my lower lash line, but on the inner portion, not the full lash line. And that about does it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. As usual, I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found that demo easy to follow and beneficial. I hope you enjoyed it, and that it also brought out things that may be a turnoff for you, or may even be that you kind of have more of an interest in this palette. Regardless, I hope overall it was very insightful and helped you out. So let's go ahead and talk about the palette. Let's go into my final thoughts. So first off, we've already talked about the packaging, and this is going to be, I feel like, everything like my last video where I was so over the moon for the packaging of the Too Faced holiday release, and this is no exception. I feel like I could talk this to death. I love this palette so much as far as like the aesthetic, just the color scheme. The quality feels really, really nice. It's not any kind of flimsy cardboard. Like, they went almost a little extra with this, and I am actually very impressed, again, because I hadn't ever heard of her, and a lot of times when that happens, I'm like, okay, and I get something that I like, or that I'm maybe just not maybe over the moon for, that they may have gone a little bit chintzier on, and this was not the case. Very, very high quality as far as the packaging goes. The inside, I love that the mirror is surrounded by these little neon looking hearts. I think just the details will make something so much more fun. Going into the palette itself, I don't even think I told you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, how many mattes there are in here. It's technically 7 if you include that cheek shade, but you know, I'm just gonna say 7 because I will continue to use it as an eyeshadow. But that's just me. There is also one pressed glitter, and I don't think I brought that up to you when I did the swatches, but there is a pressed glitter in here. And then the rest are that satiny type of almost metallic shade. Chili has like a sparkle in it, but it's suspended in the formula, so it's not any kind of chunky. It's very smooth. And then, like I said, the rest are more on the metallic side. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the mattes, because that's usually what I start with. So for the most part, these are actually very, very nice. I mean, they are opaque. They perform very well. You saw in the demo, like my crease shade, I went in once. That never happens. I always go in at least 2 or 3 times. I like to slowly build up, and with that, there was no building up. Once and one and done. So they all are just easy to pack on the eye. They're very pigmented. They can be very opaque. I do, however, have to give you the little caveat to that, and it's one of the shades I was most looking forward to, and it's the shade Hot and Spicy. It's a beautiful shade. It goes with this color scheme perfectly. It builds nicely. However, as you saw in the demo, this can get bald spots, and I think it's one of the ones the most in my collection that has that issue. It's like 1 or 2 that I can think of that I have issues with, like maybe it kind of shearing out, kind of getting a little bit of a bald spot, but I can repack color on and kind of get it back to normal. And I find it hard with this one. I don't know what it is, that it just, once it starts getting a bald spot and you start going in with more, it kind of like changes the color. I don't even know how to describe that to you. It makes it more of like a brighter pink instead of this deeper maroon shade. So I don't know what's going on there. It very much is what I remember seeing about the Subculture palette, which I really never had that issue with Subculture, but a lot of people did. And so just note that it's a beautiful shade. I love it, but it comes with its issues. I've really not had one go that bald that fast. And it's very hard to replace and kind of fix it. So there is that. So the rest of them, very, very pretty. I have not had that issue with any of the others. And again, this is the cheek color that's supposed to be used as a cheek color only. I'm assuming it's because it's a pigment, and you know pigments are not FDA approved, or is it FDA? I don't know. But I do use it on the eye. I even went in on the inner corner. You already saw that. So just know that. I mean, if you are hesitant, then you'll want to use it as a blush only if you are daring enough to use a blush that bright. Let's move into the other shades. This pressed glitter is actually really nice, and I find that I like it better than the formula of their prior pressed glitters, both Pretty Rich palette and Holiday palette. Even as recent as their Holiday palettes, those have that same formula, but this is a little bit different. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to explain how it's different. It's a little bit smoother almost. Like it's not as chunky and as piecey, and this goes on just really smooth, really nice. And it is that kind of formula to where you don't have to use a glitter glue. It's suspended in its own little gel formula to where it kind of just, once you pack it on the eye, that's where it stays. Very, very much like that. As far as the other shades, like the metallics and the satins, they apply so nicely. And I'm even going to tell you they apply better with a brush than they do with my finger, which I know is crazy. Typically, those types of shades, I always go in with my finger. And I'm always quick to tell you if you just need to always forego a brush with those types of shades, or if you just can use either, or that kind of thing. With this, I actually prefer using a brush over my finger. It goes on more opaque, it goes on creamier, it just goes on so much quicker and better. Like for example, the one I use today, Chili, oh my gosh, so intense with a brush. And so again, you can use your finger if you prefer, but this is one palette to where you can use your brushes instead of your finger and even get a better result, which to me is a little crazy. So that is that. Let's talk, I guess, a couple of the other shades. So this one right here, which is Pantera, also beautiful, super opaque, very metal and rich looking. Also, again, with a brush applies better than with a finger. And then Donut is so pretty. I think next time I want to try using it as a highlight, because the times that I've used this palette, I've had that thought and I have not done it yet. So it's very blinding, it's very reflective, and goes beautifully on the inner corner. This is just overall, I think you're already going to be able to tell this is like a really well put together palette, and I am over the moon for it. Like, the amor is real for this palette. No kidding. I love it so much. And I really didn't think that I was going to. I initially thought this was going to be an Ulta only palette, and sometimes that can put a little bit of doubt in my mind as to whether it's going to be as good. I know it sounds horrible, but I've had experiences in the past where that is the case. Well, as it turns out, it's not an Ulta exclusive, but even collaboration type of palettes can turn out a little bit disappointing. And this was anything but. This not only met my expectations, but way exceeded them. And I'm going to be using this for a really long time. And you're going to see a lot of this when we get into the Valentine's Day season, because I truly, truly love this palette. I can get past this whole hot and spicy issue. I mean, it's just one of those things where you have to work around it. You kind of have to fiddle with it. You kind of have to finesse it. And if it frustrates you that much, just don't use the shade. Just pick one out of another palette. But overall, this is so appealing. Honestly, I would say up to this point, based on what I have used from the holiday releases, I'm going to go out on a limb and say if you had to buy one thing from the holiday releases in general, make it this one. And this isn't even a holiday release, which is crazy. So definitely love. Just know the little nuances, the little quirks with it, so that you know it's not perfect, but it's really awesome anyways. My friends, this brings us to the end of another video. This is going to be a whole slew of eyeshadow palette videos, so I'm sorry for the lack of variety. It's just that there is so much new that I want to share with you, and it primarily is eyeshadow palettes. So maybe down the road we'll end up with like a face palette or something, but for the foreseeable future, just know what's coming your way. Today's verse of the day comes from Romans 10:9, and it says, "If you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved." I just say that in an effort, or I quote that, I read that in an effort to tell you that Jesus loves you, and so do I. And it is my prayer that if you don't already know him as your Lord and Savior, that you would come to know him and the absolute love and peace that only he can give. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing life to live, life to lead, and He makes everything so much better. All right, guys. Well, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I ask that you would give it a thumbs up. It really does help my channel, and I appreciate it more than you know. If you are new, I would ask if you would consider subscribing. No pressure, but I'd love to have you as part of this YouTube family. All right, friends. Well, we're going to talk more eyeshadows very soon. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.